Hello and welcome back to Chaos Corner. I am Tanari if you are new here. I also do streaming on Twitch and videos here, and that's about it at this time. So, I think I'm a little late on this update. I apologize. We had the big every 6 months appointments this week, so yeah, I've actually recorded this thing 3 times in the last week, and things just keep happening. Anyhow, what am I doing to my glasses? Stop that. Yeah, I'm also in my bathrobe, okay? I'm not sorry and I'm not changing. Where are we at this week? Where are we at since the last? It's this month. It's not this week. It's this. Wow. I'm doing great. So, rebranding is still going on. It's an ongoing process. Warned you before, it's going to take a while, and that has not changed. Garden is getting... The plans have changed a little bit. So I got sick. I really got sick. I was out of commission nearly for a week because I can work through a lot of things. Dizzy is not one of them. And I was dizzy and nauseous and just not doing good, and I had to rest for a week. I didn't have a choice. And it's something my husband apparently saw coming because I was just go for a couple of months, and that's not good for me. It was necessary, but obviously I'm going to crash eventually. So, we changed up the plans. I did get the yard cleared up like I wanted to. Hallelujah. I have not filmed all of that because I keep forgetting to take a camera out there with me. I am sorry. I will try to film actually putting the damn plants in. Speaking of, we have in this window here, this is what part of the change was. We went and planted the seeds in little pots because not only did I not have the money for the dirt at the time, but I also did not have the physical ability to get the dirt for the garden, the raised beds out back. So I planted everything I intended to plant in the window here. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 pots in this window of various plants. I think I have there are actually 12 kinds of plants here because there's a duplicate or 2 in here. But most of them have sprouted. My hot peppers have not. The jalapenos and habaneros, let me check them again just to be sure. What are you? Holy crap, that's a seedling. I stand corrected. We have a sprout that is a habanero sprout. Woo, they just took forever. Let's see the jalapenos. There's itsy bitsy, I don't think you can even see it in the camera, right there in the corner of the dirt. I don't think you can see it. There's an itsy bitsy little seedling. It's in a bad place in the jar. Of the jalapenos. So sweet. Everything has sprouted. Hot dang. That first thing of seeds I was showing you was my sugar pumpkins. We have 2 jack-o'-lantern pumpkin plants out back that I didn't plant on purpose. They planted themselves. I chunked the jack-o'-lantern out in the backyard. It wasn't even a jack-o'-lantern. We just put a pumpkin on the front porch to, Right, so what happened there is we make pumpkin pie from scratch every year. I have to have sugar pumpkins for it. I cannot do it with your standard pumpkin. My recipe will not do that. And we didn't have a car when I needed to get the pumpkins. So I ordered pumpkins, and Instacart has some problems. They can't handle my orders most of the time. That's not a down on Instacart. That is, I have huge orders. My grocery orders are not piddly. They are massive. But I ordered 2 sugar pumpkins. Well, this dude did not get the memo that there's different kinds of pumpkins. And he got me 2 jack-o'-lantern pumpkins, the big ones that you use to carve. So, we got a car later, and I went and picked up the actual sugar pumpkins that I need because they restocked them. Thank you. Because I was not failing that for 2 years in a row. But we took it was $5. I'm not going to take these back to the store. So we just used the big pumpkins as decoration. Well, in the winter, around Thanksgiving-ish, I noticed it was starting to sink out front, so I chunked it in the backyard for the birds and the squirrels. Well, little did I know that my dogs were also going to decide that they were toys, and they planted 2 of them by my back door. So we moved one because one plant is a little off the side of the door, so it's still thriving and just kind of being trained under the hammocks. And the other one is we transplanted it because it was right in front of the door. It was going to die if it stayed there. Um, so we have those two out back. They're blooming. They're like actually blooming. And I planted all of these. Those two, that first pot I showed you is my 2 sugar pumpkin plants. Because the kids are adamant we're growing our own pumpkin pie this year. And by God, I'm going to try. And then I am proud of these, and these are going to have to go outside. So are the sugar pumpkins. May will have to go outside before I get dirt into the raised beds. But that is my sweet peas. Oh no, they're starting to eat each other. Stop. No. Oh no. I tore a leaf. Those are my pea vines and the beans. These are not going in. See, the things that I'm going to have to put outside before I get dirt in the raised beds aren't going in the raised beds. The sugar pumpkins are going in the old raised bed that's next to the house. We're not using that one for anything that requires a lot of growing inside the dirt, because it was a cheap wood, 6-inch tall, maybe a foot tall raised bed that we put in next to the house, and we can't use that for a lot of my garden for a couple of reasons. One is it's up against the house, and rodents were climbing behind it. Cats were climbing behind it. And my dogs would go tearing through that garden to get at these rodents that were trying to live up under this garden bed. So we're letting it settle, and we're not tilling it. We're not digging it up. We're just going to put some wood in front of it, because in digging it up, the dogs broke it, is what happened. So we're going to put a felled tree. We had to drop a tree next to our air conditioner unit. We're going to take that, the big trunk, and put it up in front of this thing. And that's where we're planting the pumpkins and the cucumbers, because the cucumbers I'm going to train up a lattice next to the house. And the pumpkins, they're going to spread. Last time we planted a pumpkin vine, we planted one flippin' pumpkin vine. And that sucker, I could not mow about 6 to 10 square feet of my yard, because the pumpkin had become the yard. And it don't have to worry about the yard overgrowing into the pumpkins, because they will strangle anything that tries to grow in there. So that's what we're doing there, is we're going to put the pumpkins in that old bed and just let it spread out to wherever it's going to go, and train the cucumbers up. Pickle plants. My kids are calling them the pickle plants, because that is what they're for. They are for making pickles, apparently. And the peas and beans are going to go on. I had a mental bad day. I have had several mental breakdowns this year. And it happens every spring. Spring is when my daughter's birthday was. It's when my daughter passed away. This is not great up here in the spring. It's just not. But I had a breakdown day, and something in my head went, there is no good effing reason to not do this thing I've always wanted to do with my kids. I've always wanted to do a bean teepee, a beanpole teepee for the kids. This is something that my mom did. We were a little old for it when Mom did it, but I remember very, very clearly there was a year Mom let us each have our own little patch in the garden because we wanted it. We wanted to grow stuff out there. So she let us each have our own little patch, and we wanted to plant whatever we planted. But my brother he didn't know what he wanted to do. He was in a wheelchair. So he couldn't get down in the dirt and plant stuff. He couldn't do a lot, but he wanted something in his patch. So he asked if he could have a bean teepee. And this was not your standard beanpole teepee, okay? You Google beanpole teepee, you're not going to find what we did for my brother. Because he was in this wheelchair, and he was 14, 15 at the time. We're not talking a short kid. So Mom took, I think she went out and bought the sticks to do it, but she made this huge teepee that was big enough for him to roll in. And he planted, I don't even think it was beans. I think it was just morning glories he planted on that thing. But he loved it. I loved it, okay? When Arian wasn't out there, I was out there with a pillow, a quilt, and a book. I loved that teepee. But it was his garden bed, so every time he came out and wanted to use it, I got kicked out. I got the boot. But that's fine. It was great memories. And it was fun planting it. I'll be really honest. It was really fun to plant it. I was the one that was charged with helping him with this thing. But I want to do that. And I was like, there's no reason I can't do this. I just chopped down God knows how much lumber in the yard, trimming trees. I can plant a flipping bean teepee for my kids to have snacks growing in the yard. It's literally the whole point. So those aren't even going in a garden bed. Those are going in the dirt in the yard for the kids. And then I've got in the kitchen window, I screwed up. I bought 4 of the tomato plants, the breed that we want to grow, because I could not find seeds for them anywhere. I bought 4 plants. These are the ones that grow really big, meaty tomatoes. Like, there's not a whole bunch. It's huge without a ton of juice and seeds. There's actually flesh crisscrossed inside there more than your normal tomatoes. They're great for canning. So that's what we're doing. They're also a lot less irritating to slice for burgers. But I couldn't find seeds, so I bought 4 plants and I put them in a cake pan in my kitchen window. And because the spot they need to go was not ready. It's still not ready. I've got to go take some cardboard out there and pin it down and soak it so it kills all the weeds under there. But I put them up in the kitchen window, and the kitchen window's behind this huge dish strainer thing where I store canning supplies, and I couldn't see the plants, and I was overwatering it. Like, it's been over a week, and there's only 1 plant of those 4 that's needed water, and I haven't watered them in over a week. 3 have recovered. Like, 2 have solid recovered. I can tell they're recovered, no problem, easy peasy. They're back to good. They will go in the dirt. Of the other 2, 1 is just now starting to get new leaves. It is recovering, but it's taken some time because it was the most damaged when I put it in the window. And another one that had recovered got snapped in half because my dog can't leave crap alone to save her life. I was not pleased. But even if we only planted on putting 3 in, I went seed shopping after the mental breakdown. So yeah, I bought 4 tomato plants. I bought a mint plant that my husband accidentally overwatered. It's now sitting out there with the tomatoes, but I'm not worried about that one recovering. It's a bush. Like, it's a mojito mint plant. It's not the mint that I wanted, but I want mint. And it is a bush. I'm not worried about the small amount of overwatering damage on that thing. Hello, Blue. Can I help you? So we've got... I apologize, that doorbell was literally the cat opening my office. Don't you dare! You yank any more of my soundproofing off that door and I will throw crap at you. Flippin' animal. He's using the soundproofing felt on the back of my door as a scratching post. And everything else he can get a hold of, apparently. Hold on. Bugger off. Leave my stuff alone. He's in a mood this last couple days. I don't know what his problem is. No? Okay. Now I'm distracted. But yeah, that's where the garden is. I mowed this week. It's part of why I feel like crap right now. I mowed the front yard and the backyard in the same day. Not the best of moves on my knee, but I pulled it off. Like, there's a strip in the backyard I didn't do because the mower died at the last strip. I was like, screw this, I'm done. I am done today. I have an electric mower, so it was a battery. The battery died right there, and I was like, that's it, we're done. Forget it. But I mowed back there. We got everything moved where I want it. And I put all of the grass trimmings into a raised bed to cut down on the amount of dirt I'm going to need. What's going to happen is when I go to buy the dirt, I'm going to put cardboard on top of all those trimmings and squash them down. Because this is a raised bed with a bottom. We're actually using the kids' old outdoor toy boxes for raised beds because I opened those things to clean out any broken toys and learned that there were no toys in there. I have 2 toy boxes out there for kids' toys and they're not using them. So they're my garden beds now because screw that. They're free. But I've been pouring all the grass clippings in it because this was the first big mow. So every year, my husband wants to mow the lawn on the highest setting because he's afraid of scorching the yard. That does not happen. Okay? You can't scorch the grass in our yard. I know there are yards where you can. Whatever's in our yard isn't on that list. But I always want to put it on the lowest setting because I hate mowing this every week. I don't have time for that. He doesn't have time for that. He can't even mow right now. But I can't because then you hit chunks of the ground trying to mow certain areas. So it's like it's third setting down. But every year we don't mow. It's usually on the highest setting when he mows the first time. And then I go and mow on the third setting later, and that's a lot more grass. And most years we forget to do this until, like, it's been raining for a week or two, and suddenly the yard's, like, knee-high or something in some places. So I went and mowed on setting 3 for the first time this year, front and back, and I used the catcher bag, which we haven't done before. Dee prefers to let the grass fall and get chopped again. I don't know what logic he's got going there. I assume it's from a different state. Because what's actually happened is something that I was taught would happen when I was a teenager mowing, and that is the seeds from the sticker bushes fall with all of that and replant. Now, we don't have standard stickers. We have wild carrots. But I didn't know those grew burrs. I thought they were just itchy until Dee pointed out, no, those are burrs, honey. They're just not the kind of burrs you're accustomed to. I grew up with a mesquite tree in my backyard. Okay, they are not the burrs I'm accustomed to. So this year I put the bag on the back, the catcher bag on it, and poured that into the raised bed. For 2 reasons. One is I want those seeds out. The wild carrots have taken over the yard over the last 5 years that we've been here, and I don't like it. I don't like the ground cover plants, and he doesn't like the burrs, and neither one of us needs to deal with that. So you use the catcher bag, and all the seeds go in the catcher bag, and then you pour it in the raised bed, and then they die, because I'm going to put cardboard over it before the dirt to suffocate everything so I don't have weeds coming up through my garden. But yeah, that's where the garden's at, the yard is at. We're going to put a little money into, we use a Greenworks mower. Ash Caravan actually bought that for us when we moved in. And I can't start a gas mower, I don't have the upper body strength. But the Greenworks system, when he bought this mower, I went to look at getting like a drill or whatever to go with it. And at the time, the system used 3 different battery sizes, I want to say. So that the drills were light and that you had the power to work the mower. Well, like me, a lot of customers apparently did not appreciate this system because it's like, if you want this to be convenient, then just give us 1 battery size. Well, now I went and looked for, okay, we need another lawnmower battery. We need a second battery for the lawnmower so that when I go do the thick grass like this, I can actually finish one of the 2 yards in one go on one charge. And they've switched it now so that the battery we've got for the mower is actually the size they use for the entire system. So it was actually cheaper to buy a new weed whacker that uses this battery system and comes with a battery and second charger than it was just to buy a battery. And it was a little more expensive to get a pole saw of the same caliber, but the reason we don't use the pole saw we've got now is because there's a cord attached to it, and that hurts Dee's back. To have to haul the cord and deal with the pole saw and everything, it's just too much on his back. And I'm not allowed to use the pole saw. I am not allowed to use the pole saw. Period, end of story, no. No. I'm not allowed to use the pole saw. There's a lot of reasons for that. I'm an accident waiting to happen on a good day. Chainsaw above my head with lumber. No. So we're getting the... That will also come with another battery and a charger so that I can do all the yard work except trimming trees in one go by myself. And I can trim trees. I can't trim the branches above my head that are at risk for coming down on the roof. I'm not supposed to do that. But that doesn't happen very often. That's an occasional problem. It's not a regular problem. So that's where we're at there, taking care of all of that. We've talked it through, and we are going to, rather than paint parts of the house, we need something a little more sustainable and easier to put up. We're going to use peel and stick wallpaper for most of the rooms that are a problem. Most of the house in general. But Dee's going to sand the walls for me. We're going to buy a sander for that. Because I can't sand because of my asthma. Sanding is a no-no. Particles are apparently most of my problem. So sanding's a big bad no-no. But we've got the tools and things for him to do except the actual sander on a stick. That's what we're going to do there. I've already got the clothes in for the kids for camp. We had their big once every 6 months appointments. That kind of sucked. In a few ways. I was not having a good day mentally. I was quite confident I was screwing everything up. I was not on top of things. I started with a little bit of a panic. So I have to pack a certain amount of crap to take to these appointments because we're going to be there for 8 hours. Like, we have to plan for 8 hours. Usually it's more like 6. But that is still a long time with all these kids under my feet. And depending on the time of the appointment, I have to pack their medications. I always have to pack a mountain of snacks, their lunch, some drinks, entertainment, schoolwork. This stuff all has to go with me. And normally I'm more on top of it than I was this time. I made sure I had access to everything we needed to take with us this time when I went to bed the night before. Normally I have most of what we need packed and ready to go. I had not even made the Lunchables yet. And by made the Lunchables, I mean packed pepperoni, cheese, and crackers in a box. So I got up the next morning, and I had to dig out clothes for the kids, make the lunch, pack the bags, get them dressed, get me dressed, make sure I had the paperwork on hand, all the questions we needed to ask. I was running on panic. I was panicking because I did not do this the night before like I normally do. So we get to the appointment, and I am convinced I've already screwed this up. I am not on top of shit like I should be. But we're at the appointments. It goes a lot smoother than I expected, partially because I'm not the only one who wasn't as on top of things as they would have liked to be. Somehow, 3 specialists, 3 doctors, 3 specialists that normally talk to me had gotten injured or something and were out of commission this day. They weren't there. They were all from different departments, and there's always at least 2 people from each department working this clinic. Okay, so it's not like I did not get the care that I needed, but anything that they could shave off without sacrificing the care for my kids, they would. They did. So like I did not talk to 2 or 3 specialists this month in person, because they didn't have the staff available to do that. So like the assistant would come in and go, okay, we're going to schedule this, we're going to do that, we'll call you about this, we already did the tests, you're good. And we did all the tests and x-rays that we were supposed to do. So we were there for 7 hours, I want to say, because they got us out faster because there were less specialists to work with, but also it took longer because we had to show up for chest x-rays too. That's an extra 2 hours right there. In general. So we got through that. We're ordering a lot of new equipment. We had been tossing around the idea of getting to where Matt gets in the car in his wheelchair and gets strapped down in his chair. Well, we're a little concerned about the chest. There's no chest belt on his wheelchair. So we're asking for one of those. They're going to order that for us. No big deal. They're going to order the equipment for something particular for Chris. I'm not going to go revealing that on YouTube because it's a little more personal than I like. But supplies that they can start delivering me. They're going to start doing that. They're ordering a wheelchair for him so he can become accustomed to it before he needs it. And so we can go to the fair without worrying about it. Because he's going to need it at the fair. Like, that's a lot of walking if he wants to enjoy the fair this year. And they do want to enjoy the fair because they're all, except Chris, they all want to put entries into the competitions this year. So, yeah, we're going. They're also ordering new braces for 2 of the kids. The night braces, night splints, AFOs, whatever you want to call them. 2 of the kids are starting to outgrow them. That's not a big deal. Nothing new. They're kids, they grow. And the occupational therapist recommended strongly that we order a Hoyer lift so that we have time to practice with it before we need to be using it regularly. Now, my husband and I have both used a Hoyer lift before. It's a hydraulic person lift for transferring people from seats to beds to bath to all kinds of places. We've used it before, but it's been about a decade. We both lived with my parents at some point in our teen and young adult years, so before we were married, before we were dating, really. So it's not new to us, but we're out of practice. And the kids obviously have no idea. So they want us to get that to have a little bit of time to get used to it and practice with it before we really need to be using it. And before we really mess ourselves up. Hi, you're a toss violation. Please go play. No. Go play. Go find a shirt. Thank you. But yeah, that brings us to the last point we had with the appointments. I messed my back up really good with the appointments because I don't have the leave daddy alone, he's working. I don't have the leverage to get his chair into the car with the current ramp that we have without getting messed up. Like, it already hurts to get him up that ramp because I have the wrong leverage. Well, this van is old, and the carpeting inside of it has been squashed over years. So we need to work out a little bit different way to deal with the wheelchair. My husband came in to talk. Yeah, we're working out. We've got to get different ramps for the blah, 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 different types of ramps for the car, so I have the leverage I need to get his butt in the car. And we need to put a board in the car or something to fix the floor because I hit every connection for the seats that we've removed to get a wheelchair in there, and it messed me up. It took 2 days to get over that, but we survived. Everybody got home in one piece. They did their schoolwork while we were there. They actually behaved at the appointment better than I expected them to. And I expect a lot from them when we're there. I really do. But got through that. Got through the appointment. Did their schoolwork. We're changing the schoolwork routine a little bit. The oldest has expressed a desire to go back to worksheets over Khan Academy. And unlike when I was a kid, I have access to workbooks for like every flipping grade now. I don't know if that was COVID or just a general shift toward homeschooling over the last couple decades, but he wants to go back to workbooks. He doesn't like doing Khan Academy so much anymore. I think the cool has worn off. He's also getting more frustrated with math and needs my help more often. Technology is just not his friend right now. So we're going to go back to workbooks and a system I understand, where like they have their folders for each day and they've got to do the work in there for each day, and that's that. So that's where we're going with that. Honestly, I am relieved because that is so much that's autopilot for me. That's autopilot for me. I am so much better with that because that's what I did in daycare. That's what I did in daycare for years. The only difference here is the content and that I've got to use 4 files for each day, not 1. Because there's 4 different sets of work, not 1 work for an entire class of 13, 14 kids. But that I can do that on autopilot. That is not hard. That is piece of snap. And I think that's basically the catch-up for this point. We are still doing our St. Jude fundraiser. We haven't quite hit $100 yet, which is fine. Every little bit helps. Every little bit makes a difference. And we are working on getting ready for summer camp. I have my fingers crossed. I have not gotten the call back yet after medical review. But all 3 children may be going to camp. And Grandma has offered to take child 4 for at least an overnight so that we get a day without kids under feet. And that's when we're going to do the wallpapering, when specifically when Kid 2's not here. Because he will... all he sees is giant stickers. You know, it's not good. But if he comes home and suddenly his walls are clean, repaired, and a different color, he'll leave it be. So that's the plan there. Still working on my rebranding. It's going to take a while. But in the meantime, I've got some high hopes for going forward. Working through some issues. Don't like that, but it's happening. And yeah, we're just going forward and enjoying the chaos. So check me out on Twitch if you want to see me play video games and or get harassed by friends and NPCs. And you can check me out on the RPG table on Twitch. It is literally called the RPG table on Twitch. On Saturdays at 6 p.m. I've got 2 weeks. In 2 weeks. Not yet. In 2 weeks. But we're starting Season 5 soon. I am playing Annalise, a Ravnos. And we were told... we did Session 0 yesterday, and we learned... we were wrong. We got 180 XP plus the base 35. So being the lazy opportunist that I am, I chunked it all into abilities. Not abilities, attributes. Those things I need to roll. Those are up there now. Like, I don't have any attributes that are under 3 anymore. Yay. But yeah, if you want that, that's a lot of cussing. That's a lot of screaming. That's a lot of, oh no, what have we done now? And it's going to be fun this year because we've got, I think, 7 players. We've only got 2 vampires. 7 players, 2 vampires. You do the math, friends. But yeah, we'll see you there, see you on Twitch, see you here next month with another update, and in the meantime, enjoy the chaos.